Away. I hope everybody can hear me. I'd like to go ahead and thank you all for being here. Doing a webinar today, behind the scenes look at GoMaps 4.0, ROK's flagship product. And while we get moving here, a little housekeeping. I know you'll be looking at the screen for the past while, so hopefully everybody's made it in. If not, I'm going to leave this up for 1 or 2 more seconds. I'm not going to tell them to join the dial-in line because they probably wouldn't be able to hear me. But thank you guys for all getting in successfully and for being here. All right, moving on. Here's our agenda today. Tell you a little bit about who ROK Technologies is as a company. I'm going to talk about the value of GoMaps to you, the mobility, the mapping, the analysis, the reporting, scalability, the deployment, and the future of GoMaps. All very interesting things to take in. Some key takeaways from all those bullet points, and then we'll talk about a little promo and 30-day free trial and just kind of explain how that works. So we will go ahead and move on. So ROK Technologies, we are located in Charleston, South Carolina. We've been an Esri business partner since 1997. We're a Microsoft partner. And we expanded our cloud offerings in 2010. What that primarily focused on at the time was moving to an ASP license from Esri. The ASP license allows us to host geodatabases and map services on ArcGIS Server for all of our clients. So it's a very, very cool licensing designation. More recently, I would say we've double expanded our cloud offerings. We've gone from just doing kind of map service hosting in ArcGIS Server to actually offering infrastructure as a service. That can be various pieces, whether you need a web server or a SQL server, or doing virtualization on Citrix machines and offering software in a virtual environment. That's our second tier of expanded cloud offerings over the past 2 years or so. It's very exciting stuff. And together the ROK team has 80-plus years of combined GIS experience. So a very good group of people with a lot of knowledge and a lot of core competencies in GIS and infrastructure in general. So what do? We specialize in the ArcGIS platform. We customize it, we extend it, we scale it, we flip it every which way that you possibly could need it flipped. I'd say due to our ArcGIS Server ASP license, we have had an extremely heavy focus in WebGIS over the past years, and that's really good because WebGIS is a very strong future of GIS, and that's definitely an area where you're going to see a lot of emphasis moving forward. We're an ArcGIS Online specialty partner. You're here for GoMaps today. It's a big bullet point. It's our flagship product. We do customization and custom apps as well, but 9 times out of 10, we're going to use GoMaps and extend it. We're going to scale it. We're going to grow it for your needs. So that is GoMaps. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we also virtualize software, whether it's from the ArcGIS platform, such as ArcGIS for Desktop, or Microsoft products. There's a whole lot of benefit in virtualization that we've talked about in our other talks. So that is interesting. Please contact us if you want to talk about virtualization. And I just remembered one key thing, too, before we really get going. I want to apologize in advance if you hear any sirens. We're on a busy road, and occasionally we have a emergency vehicle go by. So just put that out there. Because I said it, they probably won't this one time. But every other webinar I've done, they always come by. All right, so about myself, I have a bachelor's degree in media arts. Very fun degree to have and extremely useful. Learned a lot about websites at that time and also about other mixed media and how to use that in a very cool profession such as GIS. So that's gone hand in hand well as I then moved on and focused on GIS and got a master's in that area. I studied GIS and visualization of data. And then professionally, I had an internship at Esri, and I've spent the last 5 years at ROK Technologies with a great crew of people and just doing really good things here at ROK. All right, so I want to go ahead and shift gears and start talking about GoMaps itself. A lot of times we label things like this, such as GoMaps, as a viewer. But I always like to immediately tell people GoMaps is actually more than just a viewer. It's mapping, it's analysis, spatial analysis, and reporting on all modern browsers and devices. So what we usually say is you get access anywhere, anytime, assuming you have the internet. There's that big caveat there, right? And that affects a lot of our lives nowadays, assuming you have the internet. So that is a prerequisite. And as far as modern browsers go, we're talking about Internet Explorer 10 plus. And then as far as devices go, we're working well on iOS, Android, and Windows. So those are the areas that we're really seeing deployment and successful deployment as well. GoMaps will allow you to increase your WebGIS services and data access. And what this means is you have this great data, whether you're a county, a city, a company, engineering group, you have this great information and you want to provide access to your users. So this is a great lightweight web-based product to do so. It's mobile ready, responsive design. I'll dive into this a little bit more in a second. What we're talking about here is HTML5, Ezra's JavaScript, API 3.x. Of course, there's a new one now, and that's important for you to know. And the Bootstrap framework. And we get the responsive design specifically from the Bootstrap framework. So if we made this application HTML5 and using Ezra's JavaScript API, it would deploy on your phone, but it might not be optimized for your phone or your tablet. And that's where the Bootstrap framework comes in and helps us out a lot with our jobs. Gives it that responsive design. And if you want to know, what is responsive design? Well, the answer is pretty much in the name. So the application is going to respond to your screen size, and the user interface will act accordingly. And I will show you that in a second or two. Another big value point for GoMaps, it's an extremely quick setup. Depending on your deployment scenario, you would work with the ROK team. We'll get you set up quickly and we will tailor it to your needs. But there are a couple other deployment options as well that I'll go over at the end of this talk, and those will allow you to quickly set up GoMaps for yourself. GoMaps is a very customizable product. Like I said, every GoMaps is tailored to our clients. We're not coming straight out of the box here. We start out of the box and then we customize it to whatever nth degree you may need. No GoMaps is like another GoMaps. Each one's a different color of the rainbow, so it's a very cool community we have going of GoMaps users. We like to say that GoMaps offers unlimited scalability. I think that's a really, really, really important point to hit home because when you start with GoMaps, you're not going to get stuck somewhere. You can scale it for whatever need or needs you may have, and we'll go over that in a little bit as well. But building in GoMaps doesn't mean you're just sitting with GoMaps. If you need to take it and turn it into some sort of tool for doing, let's just say, inspections or something like that, it is the perfect tool to scale to those various needs. GoMaps has a long product history. In my time at ROK, I've known of ArcIMS GoMaps sites that are actually still running today. When I came in, we were heavy into Flex. And then we transitioned over to HTML5 and JavaScript due to the mobile revolution. It's been a great move. And the reason that having a long product history is important is kind of two-pronged in my opinion. The first one is that we've been doing this a long time. We've heard from you. We know what features you want and what features you like. And we move those forward every time. When we move from ArcIMS to Flex, when we move from Flex to HTML and JavaScript, we're going to take the best of the best forward. We're going to bring new enhancements in, and if there's something that we really heard people didn't like too much, then we'll phase it out. So that's one really good reason to have a long product history and to go with a product with a long product history. And the second is that we have a lot of really happy customers, and if you're considering going with GoMaps, we definitely could refer you to those customers, and they could give you some testimony. promise it's unbiased, but I think a lot of our clients and customers are very, very happy with the product and the service that ROK provides. And finally, the value in GoMaps is that 9 times out of 10, if you're doing a deployment where it's hosted by ROK Technologies, you get ROK's cloud management, and what that means is that, we're going to have a dedicated team that's making sure these servers are running. You're not having to worry about web servers, IIS, licensing. You're not having to worry about running an ArcGIS server that needs to be up 99% of the time. And we can also work with you to develop scripting and automation, that type of thing, so that we can manage your services. A lot of times people come to us with some very complex needs, and that's how ROK can work through them. So diving on in, I want to talk about the mobility of GoMaps. That's one of the most important things nowadays with any web service, is that it's mobile friendly and mobile usable. As I mentioned, we were a Flex shop a couple years ago, and we saw the writing on the wall. We heard the writing on the wall from a lot of our customers. Hey, the county manager is trying to access the site on his iPad and he can't pull it up. What's going on? Well, the Adobe Flash plugin is no longer supported by iOS or Android. What are we going to do about it? So we've transitioned over to JavaScript, HTML5, and Bootstrap, as I mentioned. And that transition was really eye-opening to us. And the reason was, it opened up a lot of avenues that we hadn't really even considered before. The most obvious one that I always like to talk about is that, all of a sudden we could geolocate ourselves on the maps. Well, in the Flex versions, we really had no interest because we were sitting at our desks. We were at our desktop computer. I don't want the map to remind me that I'm at my desktop computer, But now we're out in the field and we can check ourselves out, and I see this as a very key workflow for mobility moving forward. You're out in the field, you geolocate yourself, you confirm that you're in the right location, maybe using a tool like Google Street View from GoMaps, and then you can also check out information about a property. So you have all that great GIS data. Maybe it's assets, maybe it's parcels, who knows what it is, but you've confirmed you're in the right location. You can pull that data on that feature, and you can also pull up documents or reports that might be tied to it. So that's really one way in which it was very, very eye-opening for us. And GoMaps gives you that access anywhere, anytime. Like I said, there's that slight caveat that you do have to have actual access to the internet. Assuming you do have that access, you're going to enable a host of users. Depends on how you want to deploy it. Of course, you can do it just for internal use, maybe a select group of users, right? If you have sensitive data, that's not a problem. We can lock these services down, provide logins, users, roles, that type of thing. Or you can have it open to the public, and you just enable a humongous group of users. And that allows them to hopefully answer questions for themselves, and also allows you to answer questions. So you can also access, answer, and enable from any device, which is really nice. So now you can sit in your comfortable chair at home and use your tablet versus having to go get into that clunky wooden chair where you have your computer set up. So that's very nice. It's going to be kind of the start of the demo phase. I want to show you all what we're talking about when we talk about mobility. You can see here, this is our GoMaps viewer, using a browser emulator to give you a mobile view, and you can see how this is nice. It's very usable on one's iPhone 6 in this situation. But I really want to get in and talk a little bit more about what responsive design actually is. I mentioned that the answer is in the name. So right now this screen is interpreting and responding that we have a very wide area here, and we have a bunch of menu items across the top, and we have our traditional columns and rows at the bottom with that data. But as we shrink down, the screen is going to know to condense into this nice, very finger-friendly menu here, and these nice vertical pieces of data, these elements that are very friendly as well for your fingers. So that's what responsive design means. And as I said over here, now you kind of get a better idea. This is what we're looking at when we're actually on a mobile device. So that's very neat. Earlier I talked about this workflow of being in the field and confirming where you are, so I figured I'd give you a little chance to see that. So we can geolocate ourselves. As I mentioned earlier in the talk, we're in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a very wonderful place to live and work. And while we're there, we can go ahead and geolocate ourselves. Like I said, it's great when you're in the field to confirm you are where you are. And coming down the road here is our favorite barbecue restaurant, Home Team. And then right across the street, we are in these condos back over here, ROK Technologies. So we don't have data here per se, but if you can imagine that we've just done that workflow and geolocate ourselves to where we do have data, you can see how beneficial it would be to be able to actually pull up information about a feature, whether it's a parcel or some sort of asset, as-built, that type of thing. And then link to other various tools and reports, whether it's like a PRC type thing or maybe a property site. So you can see how you can get some very valuable information in the field. All right, moving on. I want to talk about the mapping side of GoMaps, and then we'll walk through that as well. So, what GoMaps does is it consumes ArcGIS for server REST services. It supports cache maps. A lot of times that's like ortho imagery, aerial imagery, but we also can throw in other raster cachings as well, and sometimes you want to cache your vector data, and that cache data is just going to draw super fast in GoMaps. It also consumes dynamic map services as well. And that gives you a lot of that wonderful vector data and the ability to query it. Then when we talk about the mapping side, we also have Esri's suite of cache-based maps that we deploy, and that's where sometimes Esri's cache-based maps are great, but maybe somebody wants to employ their own cached imagery because they are the authoritative source, and that's where a cache map really gives you some benefit. GoMaps can bring in ArcGIS Online content. It's really a specific use case. I will go ahead and put that out there. So you're going to be focusing on just ArcGIS Online, but you could use GoMaps as a tool to access all of your content from that directory when you're in ArcGIS Online. So that's a really cool feature, but it's really more of a specific use. GoMaps employs a table of contents-based layer list. That table of contents gives you essentially the legend, the symbology of the layers at your fingertips. And I think it's really great for novice users because they can see the symbology as they turn it on and off and get a very good understanding of the map. But it's also great for Power ArcGIS desktop users because it's pretty similar to what ArcGIS for desktop offers, so that can be nice. We can do map themes. A lot of times folks come to us and they say we want to easily be able to switch between parcels or zoning or emergency services, or on a different side, maybe in the engineering realm, we want to talk about wastewater, water, sewer. We can provide these map themes so that the map easily changes back and forth between sets of GIS layers and allows your users to access those GIS layers and also query them in that way. We have Google Street View integration. We offer a suite of drawing tools so that you can mark up your map. And then obviously if you're marking up your map, you're probably going to then want to take it and print it out, generate a PDF, and use that great annotation to share it around the office. When we're talking about sharing, we also have some very wonderful sharing tools in GoMaps as well. Link generation, so if you're in an area, you can essentially create a link that will take you back there. URL when I say link. And then we have incorporated REST-based print tools, which gives you a whole lot more control over the format, the layout, and the legend compared with previous versions of printing, like specifically that we were doing in the Flex versions of GoMaps before a later version of the Flex API came along. And with that being said, I'm going to switch back off and show you some of those mapping tools. Let's see here. Okay, so we talked about Esri's cache-based maps and table of contents-based legend. I'm going to go in here, and like I said, for a novice user, this is really easy to use because they can see the symbology right next to it, and they know, all right, if I turn this off, that's going to affect the map. Let's see, if we look under roads, highways, infrastructure, address points, that type of symbology, it's really easy for users to wrap their head around that. And as I was mentioning, we can then go under the base maps and start to use some of Esri's free base maps, streets, imagery, that type of thing. But as I mentioned, there's a pretty good chance maybe you have your own imagery. Maybe you're an engineering group and you've shot a job site. Maybe you're a county or a city and you have access to imagery as well. You can easily pull that in as a cache layer that's going to draw really quickly and then be the authoritative source of your imagery. So that's not a problem at all. Very good. All right. As I showed you earlier, Google Street View for your mapping needs. It's a great way to, confirm that you are in the location that you should in fact be in. And then I'm going to move over here and show you some of the drawing tools that GoMaps offers. Standard stuff, but extremely powerful. You have the ability to do points, lines, and polygons with some very easy to use style user interface elements. So as you move through, you can make this not as hideous, hopefully. Of course, I will warn you, I am very colorblind, and change transparency and stuff. But this is a great way to communicate about a spatial area to other folks in your office. Let's see. And then share it around the office as well, such as doing a printout of that information. Once you do that, in the case of a PDF or JPEG, PNG, you then download that and print it, or of course send it around via email or some sort of file sharing device. So that's some of the great drawing tools. And as I just showed you, it's really easy to share that information creating a PDF, but maybe there's some other information that you also want to share. This is one of the very powerful tools of GoMaps, and I'll even hit on it a little bit later. But you have the ability to create these links. You can see we have 4 results here, and we have a bunch of sharing options. I'm going to go for Google+, and it will take us to a map and zoom us right to that same location, and it's going to make this selection on the map as well. So now you can imagine that you've emailed this out around the office. Maybe the PDF didn't make sense to somebody. Well, now they're actually using the interactive tool, and they have the same feature set that you wanted to communicate about. So that's some very powerful stuff that GoMaps has to offer as far as mapping goes. Next, I'm going to dive into some analysis, spatial analysis, but also attribute analysis. A lot of times we look at the attributes and the data using predefined searches that our clients come to us with, but also Query Builder, which is similar to Select by Attributes in ArcGIS for desktop, so that you can build out essentially a T-SQL statement. We will work with you, and what I like to say is if it's in your data, we can pretty much find it. So we'll work with you to define those searches and make sure they're powerful, and also make sure that they fit a workflow and use case for your user group. We have various selection tools for allowing you to select features on the map. We also have some very good measurement tools. If you're looking to do area or distance and choose between different units, we have that ready to go. And then one of the very more powerful spatial analysis tools in GoMaps is the ability to do buffers, whether on a feature set or on an individual feature. So I will walk you through some of that really quickly. Get some of the analysis that GoMaps has to offer. All right, so first of all, let's go here and go to measurement. And you can see that this could be a very useful tool. if you're looking to check out various measurements that might be needed. In this case, we'll check out this parcel and see about how many square feet are there, and then you can add that to the map. So 96,166 square footage there for that polygon. You can also do coordinates, degrees, minutes, seconds, zoom to latitude, longitude, and also find distance so that it's not so tied to area. Let's see here. But what I wanted to walk y'all through was some of the searching that we can build out. As I said, we can build out some really nice drop-downs and some very complex searches based upon your data with some very user-friendly elements like calendar drop-downs and that type of thing. Also pre-populated values as well, so you can do some sales searches if that's in your data, or search for various facility IDs or facility features. A lot of times we have folks with data that maybe it's made up of a particular material, has particular dimensions to it. This is a really good way that we can search for those various features. For now, I'm going to walk into Query Builder. Like I said, it's a really good way to develop some queries that maybe you haven't built out ahead of time because it's a little more ad hoc. Right now we're going to look for a park. I'm going to add that down here, get some distinct values. Let's go to Sunset Park. That sounds like a really nice place. So we found it on the map. If y'all want to see a little bit more about Sunset Park, we can turn this off and let's get some aerials on. Very cool. And then what we can do is take Sunset Park and apply a buffer to it. So we're going to say we want to know all of the parcels. Let's actually go with 1,000 feet. Let's find all the parcels that are within 1,000 feet of this park. So we get 150 results. See our highlight on the map, and now we have a really nice feature set for various uses. So that's some of the analysis that you can do in GoMaps. Then I want to get into the reporting tools that GoMaps has to offer. I'm going to show you this. I showed you the link generation and how powerful that can be. It's one of the most exciting features. But these other features are great as well. Exporting mailing labels, that makes a lot of people very happy. Exporting to Excel can be very useful and very powerful. And reports and drill down reports are also extremely powerful also. Now I will say, when I say some of this stuff, you might be concerned, like export to Excel. Well, we don't want our data being able to be pulled from GoMaps to somebody's local machine. Well, that's not a problem. These are out-of-the-box features that we can restrict or remove. So that's totally up to you. Like I said, we tailor this to your needs. So you can see we have some cute images here. The one I really wanted to highlight is the drill down reports. When we say drill down reports, what we're talking about is we are going to take a geometry, whether it's a point, line, or a polygon that you've selected or provided in GoMaps, and we're going to drill down through a bunch of GIS layers. So at the bottom right of this slide, you can see the classic GIS layer mashup. Maybe you have some political boundaries, some zoning, voting information, streets, parcels, land usage, elevation information, pretty much any GIS layer you may have. What we can do is we can compare that initial geometry to all those layers, and we can tell you things such as yes or no, they are in this zone, they are in this boundary, they are touching this polygon, they are touching this line, they contain this point. Or we can actually give you the values. You know, if you have very useful attributes in your data, we can create a user-friendly report that will tell you those attributes. And then sometimes you might be in multiple zones. And in that case, we can choose to give you a comma delimited list. We can give you a very nice, you know, beautiful table that we build. And then sometimes there's also some logistics involved where we need to find out the highest value and only give you that. So we can work through all types of situations there. So I'm talking about it. Let's look at it. We're going to go here, and let's look. We've seen the link generation, so let's look at some of these export tools. So first of all, I'm going to create a feature set, and let's go ahead and export that out to Excel. Super fast, lightweight way to get a bunch of data and distribute it around the office or out to the public. And we can also look at some mailing labels. Realtors, property association owners, that type of group loves features such as mailing labels. And then finally, I want to show you that drill down. So let's go ahead and zoom to one of these properties. And we have a nice polygon here. And as I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to compare it to a bunch of other GIS layers. We can see various features such as jurisdiction, zip codes, water franchise, school zones, polling places, mosquito spray areas, evacuation zones, fire districts, zoning information, like I said, yes, no's, or we can do like some comma delimited lists, that type of things. So all of this data is coming from layers that relate to that GIS parcel. However, none of this information is actually in that parcel data set. There is just a relationship spatially that we've found and that we've then developed a nice report around. So drill down reports can be extremely beneficial. All right. Next I want to talk about the scalability of GoMaps. And what I mean when I say the scalability of GoMaps, I mean that this product can start at a very basic form and can grow to handle any need, any use you might have. We've talked about its use in the field. I'm going to give you a really good example. So we had one of our oldest and favorite clients come to us with a field use, wanted to create a tax route for their assessors and appraisers. They wanted to use GoMaps. They wanted to do this in a WebGIS-based tool. So what they do is they can go in, they can activate a tool that you can see at the bottom right hand of your screen, and then they can go and select some parcels in a neighborhood, and it's going to generate a really nice and easy to use list. Then they can email that out to somebody, and that's essentially like their clipboard for the day. They can go out in the field. When they click on those links, it's going to take you directly to that parcel. It's going to give you the information about that parcel. It's going to allow you to do Google Street View, and it's going to allow you to open up a PRC. So that's like a custom workflow, like I said, a use in the field that we developed custom for one of our clients. And when I talk about GoMaps going mobile, a lot of the real very cool features have actually come from our clients. You know, I can tell sometimes when I'm talking to somebody about GoMaps 4 that the light bulb just goes off and they think of a new way that it can be used. And you know, we love hearing about that, and we love working through those various use cases. So keep them coming. Please let us hear about that if you have an idea. We're also adding attribute editing. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and move to that picture. So you know, if you're interested in doing asset management through GoMaps, we're using Esri's Attribute Inspector. It's very powerful, so it's going to take all the attributes that you've supplied in the map service and allow you to edit them. What we can do is build out domains or work with you to have domains in the geo database, and that gives you some nice, really easy to use drop downs. And also if you use things like proper data types such as the date field, you'll get a nice user-friendly calendar element when you go there. We have geometry editing ready as well. So attribute and geometry editing are two upgrades that we'd love to talk to you about. If you're interested, please contact us. But it's something that we're applying to current GoMaps when folks are interested and need it. With those attribute and geometry editing pieces, we can also do a whole lot of really useful and beneficial upload and attachments functionalities. A lot of times we have folks who you know, have assets in the field, as-built in the field, and they want to not only attach photos from the past or maybe documents from when that was built. But they also want to take pictures moving forward and be able to look as time moves on what happens in the changing landscape. So we can provide that functionality. Of course, all this stuff is great, but it's important to be able to secure things like geometry editing, attribute editing, and what we do now is build out administrative controls that allows you to add users, apply roles to those users, and restrict at the GoMaps level what functionality folks have inside of GoMaps. So at the bottom right hand, that's kind of a picture of a user admin where I've taken the names out and the passwords out, obviously, but you could see how we have some statuses because folks retire, folks move on, so you can set people active or inactive, and we can also designate roles, and we'll work with you to build the roles that are correct for your application. Form-based editing is another big push in GoMaps currently. We have a lot of folks who come to us with specific needs. In this case, this is a work order form so that you could set up work orders on various GIS features, whether you're in the office or in the field. So we can build out some really nice, useful forms pretty easily, and we'd love to add that to a GoMaps for you. There's a ton of uses for GoMaps. I'm sure you've been thinking about them, or you're in this talk because you've considered what you can use GoMaps for. It's great in state and local government vertical. That's where we've, in the past, traditionally had a whole lot of users, but we're gaining a lot of architects, engineers, and construction as well. Health and Human Services is another big area of use for GoMaps. And these folks are all using it to display data, to offer data access, for asset management, for inspections, for document management. Like I said, maybe you have documents from the past and they relate to your GIS features. This is a great place to store PDFs, pictures of as-builts, that type of thing. Let GoMaps kind of be your source for document management. Work order forms, various other forms you might have, the ability to do permitting, and really any custom workflow you might have or might be interested in talking out. GoMaps is great for all of these uses. We just have to come up with the workflow, the use case, and talk through it, and we can figure out how to tailor GoMaps for that workflow. All right, so deployment of GoMaps. What we can do is, if you're interested, please contact us and we can give you kind of our standard setup of GoMaps. But like I said, you're very much not locked in that box. We'd love to talk out any other scenario with you, but it's a great starting point for you to gain more information about GoMaps. So we have pretty much a standard setup that will tell you all the tools, all the features, the searches, the reporting, that important information that we can provide to you very easily and very quickly. Today, if you contact us, it's just a PDF. Deployment options. Traditionally, what we've seen a lot of is the ROK hosted deployment. And what that entails is, we're hosting your geodatabase, we're hosting your map services, we have the web server with your web application, and we line up a way to handle data updates on a frequent basis determined by you. And then we use our ASP licensing from Esri to provide map service hosting on our private cloud, and that allows GoMaps to run. It's going to consume those map services that are based upon the geodatabases and the data that you supply. So what separates this from a lot of other products is that, as I mentioned, you have the cloud management and the ROK team behind you performing this implementation and customization with you. So we're going to talk through it with you, we're going to get the workflow with you, and then we're actually going to implement it for you. So if you don't have a whole lot of free time on your hands, if you don't have the knowledge, this is a great option because it's not going to require anything from you other than just some direction in the beginning. How do you want the reports to be set up? How do you want the searches to be set up? So that's traditionally been our very successful option. I will say ROK's infrastructure is amazing. Our ArcGIS server is extremely reliable, 99% uptime. So this is also a great solution if you either do not have ArcGIS server or if you have ArcGIS Server and it's behind a firewall and it's not publicly available, you need it to be, or if you have ArcGIS Server but you don't want to be responsible for keeping it up 99% of the time. A lot of times ArcGIS Server requires some hand-holding, a little bit of maintenance, and that's what we're here for. A new deployment option is hosted in Amazon's Web Service Market. So what this will do for you is it will provide SaaS hourly pricing. This is a great option if you want to run GoMaps here and there, but turn it on and off. Maybe you just want to run it 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and then turn it off. It's a very cool method for handling that. It's a very simple setup that would be performed by you, the client, to get GoMaps running. And the ArcGIS hosting would be handled by the client through either an EC2 instance if you want to go full Amazon cloud, which is a really cool thing to do these days, or an on-premise installation of ArcGIS for server. I have a link there. That's to our main website with our marketplace offering for AWS, so please check that out. And then finally, I mentioned earlier use case of ArcGIS Online. This is a really cool product. It's very specific just for ArcGIS Online, so you're not really consuming other services like directly from an ArcGIS server. This is a product where you're going to log into GoMaps, and it's going to allow you to view all of your wonderful ArcGIS Online content. So in this situation, you could host feature layers through ArcGIS Online, web maps through ArcGIS Online, and pull them into GoMaps. So that's another really cool use scenario as well. So those are 3 great deployment options. Please contact us if you have any questions about that. So the future of ROK's WebGIS. GoMaps is a wonderful product right now, and we're always taking it to the next level. We have some very big, significant enhancements on the way. This is just a little teaser to get you salivating a little bit. We're reskinning some things. We've made a very strong push to reskin GoMaps. We're looking at 2D and 3D, so as I mentioned before, we've been employing Esri's JavaScript 3.x, but Esri came out with a really cool 4.x API that allows a lot of neat 3D functionality. And then as I mentioned also, this product being in the AWS marketplace is a really exciting new way for you to use GoMaps. We have a webinar coming up next month, so stay tuned. And we're going to be talking about this future and really going through bullet point by bullet point and explaining all the great benefits and all the great enhancements. So please stay tuned for that. That will be next month. And I'm just going to flip through a couple images here. As you can see, like I mentioned, we're moving into the JavaScript 4.x realm where we can start showing 3D, which is really exciting. It has a lot of use cases as well, particularly for architects, engineering, and construction. And always a cool one to have some street view on a pretty mountain pass on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So some key takeaways from this talk. As I mentioned earlier, GoMaps is more than just a viewer. It's great whether you're doing mapping, whether you're doing reporting, whether you're doing spatial analysis. It's a wonderful tool for all of that. It can be accessed anywhere, anytime, on any device, assuming you have the internet. And you can, enable a large set of users as well. Whether it's just you in the office or a small team of people in your office, or you want to release it to the public. It's a great way to disseminate information. Unlimited scalability with GoMaps. You're not starting with a product that you're going to get growing pains with. It's really easy to scale GoMaps for any of your needs and workflows. A lot of times, we'd love to work with you and hear about, where you want to take GoMaps and what kind of mapping needs you have. You can deploy GoMaps as a ROK-hosted solution or on your own using ArcGIS Server and an AWS SaaS model. Also, there's the ArcGIS Online model that I mentioned as well. And GoMaps is extremely easy to set up, with ROK's team doing management and implementation, or on your own in the AWS scenario. We have a very easy walkthrough for you. And with that being said, I want to go over a promo and 30-day free trial of GoMaps. So this is a really great offer, and I'll tell you why. With the 30-day free trial, you could get in contact with us today, kick that 30-day trial off, decide if you really like this as a product, if it's going to be great for you. We can provide some references. And by the end of that 30-day free trial, you still have this promo code that's available. What we'll do is we'll knock 10% off our standard setup if you purchase within 45 days. Please contact us at the phone number or email address and give us that promo code just so that we know that you came from the webinar. We would appreciate that a bunch. Also contact us in that way if you have any questions or you'd like to set up a free trial. And the free trial, pretty much what we'll do is we'll get some data from you and we'll go through a workflow, maybe a couple searches, some simple reports, get it up and going so that you can really try out the product and see if it's for you. And we'll also walk you through it, do some orientation, and if you're a decision maker, that's great. We'll walk you through that. If you're not a decision maker, but you're going to need to get in touch with decision makers, we would be more than happy to get on the line and do a demo of your specific trial setup GoMaps for you as well. So this is a great promo. Please reach out to us, and I really thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this talk today. And at this time, I'll get back over to Anne-Marie and see if we have any questions or anything else that's come up.
Hey Jay, well, we haven't gotten any questions come through just yet. I certainly invite the group to go ahead and type them in if they have any at this time. But right now it's looking like you must have been very thorough.
It's always good to hear. Always good to hear. And if y'all hold on for a second, I'm going to look up a good piece of information for y'all. Let's see.
While you're doing that, Jay, we did get a couple questions.
Sure, let's hear them.
Yeah, Masood was interested in understanding the price.
Yeah, so as I said, it's a standard setup cost. We can provide a PDF that will outline exactly what's in GoMaps. Depending on your situation, GoMaps usually starts around $5K. But we can work with you and your budget, and also depending on your needs in GoMaps, and that's for the standard setup. If we need to do some forms, if we need to do an admin panel, if we need to do various other more complex features, we'll just write out a nice scope, talk with you to make sure we get it right, and just essentially handle that as an upgrade to GoMaps.
And actually, the other comment was not a question, but it was a compliment from David saying thanks for a really good demo.
Oh, well, thank you, David.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, that is really nice.
Looks like that's all the questions we have.
Cool. So I have a question that I am trying to sort out. If people stick around on the line for another minute or two, I should be able to get an answer. But if you need to go, I totally understand.
Oh, here's another question. Is the barbecue restaurant across the street from you good?
Oh man, it's so good. I will certainly plug them. It's called Home Team Barbecue, and they have wonderful barbecue, but they also have some of the best wings around. Alabama white sauce, dry rub, super good. I highly recommend it. It's kind of contemporary too. They do wraps and stuff. All right, and so the very useful and important thing I wanted to tell y'all, we're talking about the future of GoMaps, is that our next webinar will be on August 16th, and we'll have some times. I'm guessing it's going to be like from 2 to 3 o'clock. but certainly mark your calendars because we'll be disseminating information about that, but we definitely want you there with us. So thank you for sticking around for that piece of information. I'm going to put it on Notepad and let you see.
Can you repeat the date of the demo, Jay? They didn't quite hear it.
I sure can. So Tuesday, August 16th. I'm not sure if it actually is 1:30 to 3. It might be 2 to 3. But that's going to be a very, very important talk about AWS and GoMaps and the future of products and stuff like that. So it's a great, very exciting talk to be on.
All right, and when we send the recording out, I'll go ahead and include this information as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, looks like we need to say goodbye then.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.